And just tell me a little bit about how you got involved in Valley's Kids.
Yeah, so I first got involved with Valley's Kids when I was about 10 years old. I think it was about 2003. My parents had gone shopping, food shopping, and I really didn't want to go. And my cousin used to come on a drama workshop on a Tuesday in Penygraig. So they dropped me off at his house and they said, well, you can go with your cousin then, because, you know, if you're going to be like that. So I did, and I went down in underneath the old library, is it? And we had the drama workshop, and I never looked back, really, from the first instance. It was a weekly thing to go every Tuesday. The team were really welcoming, and I've made lifelong friends just from being on that first day. We met people that I still talk to and still regularly make contact with today. So yeah, that was my first experience with Valley's Kids. And then from there, that sort of spanned up until, you know, recent times, really. So I'm 32 now. I started off obviously as a 10-year-old boy doing these drama workshops, just something to do on a Tuesday. And then from there, moved up from Penygraig Drama Workshop into Flight Wings, which was the older young people's drama group. So we worked with a bunch of different people, like National Theatre Wales. We worked with a team called Mzansi Cymru. I think that was through Valley's Kids as well, though. And that opened up a lot of opportunities in terms of experiencing not only putting on a theatre production, but also like just learning skills, like communication skills and speaking, and sort of projecting yourself and putting yourself forward. Through that then, as I got older into my kind of like 16, 17-year-old, started helping out with volunteering for Valley's Kids. So that was then helping facilitate workshops with the younger children in Penygraig. Also did some work in the Dinas project over their summer show, and also in Penyrenglyn for their summer project as well. One of the workers at Valley's Kids was doing a play about like a time machine, and there was this chant that we had to try and get the children doing. So me and a couple of our friends had just been to see a Batman film, I think it was, but there was a chant going on. So we had all the children in the sort of playground outside of Penyrenglyn in a big circle chanting these words over and over again, and it really got them to learn how to kind of speak in unison and hype them up for ready for when they were going on to do the performance. And I think I ended up being in that performance then. I ended up in a lab coat with the chains on, being some mad scientist kind of situation. But no, that was really good. We even did things like just helping do the food runs. So we would like go out at the time we were driving by this point, so we would go and pick up the food so the kids had something to eat in between their breaks, which was letting then the Valley's Kids staff like stay on time with wrangling these children to do this production. Yeah, so there was a lot of that, and then more recently, now I'm 32 now, like I say, so now it's more helping Valley's Kids in terms of being a part of the Friends of Valley's Kids team, which is helping raise awareness and funds for Valley's Kids.
Why is Valley's Kids so important?
Yeah. So what started for me as just going to do something on a Tuesday, not really understanding anything about what Valley's Kids is as an entity and who they are, it was just a youth club to me, really. Started off as just a bit of fun, ended up becoming this really integral part of my growing up, and looking back at it, I don't think I realised it at the time because it was just something that I did all the time. But looking back, it was this community, well, it still is this community of people, and I think Valley's Kids is this sort of definition of what a community should look like. You've got this group of people who are so integral to not only the children and the young people in the community, but also the local people. You know, there's a wide range of people who use Valley's Kids services. And I don't think I realised how important those youth workshops were until I was a bit older. Like, school doesn't work for everybody, I don't think. And I was quite good in school. I was quite academically, I don't know, I was good at school. and I went on to university to do the sciences, but I don't think I would have been as good in university without the things that I learned in Valley's Kids. I learned communication skills, I learned just about how to approach different people, and I learned how to be comfortable in myself and confident in my own skin then. So I was quite a shy kid in school. I was quite nerdy, if you want to use that term. I did a bit of sports, but I was quite sort of in my own world then. And I came to Valley's Kids to do those drama workshops, and they really gave me self-confidence. They really provided a space where it was safe to be yourself and safe to have ideas and go against the norms. You know, it didn't matter what trainers you had on. It didn't matter, you know, whether you could do the sum fast enough or anything like that. We used to play games that at the time were just fun games, but looking back on them, we're building these sort of essential life skills then. So I've got, you know, we used to play a party game where you would improvise being a character, and we used to love it. We used to ask for it all the time. And looking back, that was really helping me to think on my feet and kind of be dynamic, I suppose, because when you're doing this improvisation, you're not allowed to discuss what the next conversation is going to be. You can only work off of what the person is saying on the other side. So you've got to learn this kind of teamwork. There's more. It's more about how the cues that you're taking from somebody and reading people and understanding different people's approaches to a target or a task. Then. We did the South Africa project with Valley's Kids, and that opened my eyes to experiencing people from different parts of the world. So the Rhonda's quite a small place, and everybody I knew until that point looked like me and sounded like me. And then we, you know, went on a plane to South Africa, and this entire nation of multicultural history was presented to us. And that made me realise the similarities that there are in people around the world, and helped me kind of open my eyes to the struggles that other places have had compared to the Rhonda, but then also how that is quite similar to the experience of you know, my parents and my parents' parents and things like that. And I think when I hit university is when I really started to appreciate how that it helped me, especially, you know, when you first go to university and you've got all these people coming from around the country and around the world coming into one place, all trying to fit in, all trying to be best friends. You know, I felt comfortable enough in my own skin that I could just be myself, and there was no need to put a mask on, and there was no need to be a certain way. I could just be myself and be comfortable that I would be okay, and I was. So for me, Valley's Kids gives more to... I feel like I call on the skills that Valley's Kids has given me more now than I do the skills that I learned in school. I use, you know, numbers every day in work and things like that, but you know, at the moment in my job, I'm running a department of 23 analysts in a toxicology lab, and I use the drama more than I use the chemistry, because my job doesn't, although it's a lab and it needs chemistry, what I need to be doing to function to run that lab effectively is I need people skills, and I need communication skills, and I need to be able to take what 20 different people are telling me of their experience of what's happening in a day and try and come to some sort of conclusion that works for everybody and also works for the target of the job that we've got to do. So for me, the you know, presentation skills, being able to present a plan or a workflow or you know, a department plan for the next year, that kind of thing, all comes from being able to call on what I've learned in the, I nearly said 10 years, but it's 20 plus years of Valley's Kids now. So there.
Amazing. Is there something that you're particularly proud of, or of all the things that have happened?
Oh, that's a hard question. You've probably got a better idea than I have. You've known me all my life. I'll give two examples. The first example isn't something I'm proud of, but it was a specific event that I think taught me a lot. And it was, we did a show called I Wish, or My Wish? I Wish. We did a show called I Wish. And I had a specific part in that play that I think was quite a big role in it. And I don't think I appreciated that very well, and ended up dropping out of the play quite late in the process, and I guess left everybody in the lurch, realistically. And then after the fact, I came back to Valley's Kids after that summer period to do the drama workshops again. And I was kind of given an opportunity to kind of speak to it and own up to it and apologise for it, which I think everybody kind of needed, because like I say, I did leave everybody in the lurch a little bit. And I think that really taught me accountability, and it taught me to kind of learn from my mistakes and own up to when I've done something that probably wasn't the right thing to do. I think I prioritised myself over the project that we were working on in that summer. And as a result, it kind of like really made it difficult for the team to achieve the performance they put on. And after doing that, it was one thing to be welcomed back and just sort of say we're back in now and we're doing our our regular weekly workshops again. But to be allowed the space to reflect on it and allowed to say, I put my hands up and say, like, yes, I've done wrong here, and apologise to everybody. And I think I needed to. So yeah, I think that was a really invaluable lesson to learn. And it didn't come from a place of punishment. It wasn't like I was getting detention or I was being, shown up in front of the group. It was just sort of, do you want to say anything about what the significance of what just happened, kind of thing. And yeah, that's something that's kind of stuck with me all my life, really, in terms of kind of owning up to when something doesn't, you don't do something that you probably should have done, and taking accountability for your actions. So that's one thing. Something I'm proud of then, I would say, we did a piece of work with the Holocaust Trust, which was a play about some children in one of the ghettos in Nazi Germany, or Nazi Poland, I think it was at the time. And my role was a child of a Jewish man who was working for the Nazis as an informant kind of character. And this child's perception of what was happening in the ghettos was akin to the story of Hansel and Gretel. So there was a big sort of monologue that I had to do, which was around the story of Hansel and Gretel, but equating it to what he had seen in the ghettos. And I was still quite shy of myself at that point. I think I was quite new to Valley's Kids. It was one of the first kind of proper roles I had outside of a background character in one of the summer plays, really. And Miranda, yourself, and Miranda came and took me to one side to learn this monologue, and everybody else kind of left the room, and we went up in the chapel, and we were shouting the lines at each other. And I remember I did have a stick in my hand at one point, I think, and we were shouting the lines at one another until one guy had to learn them, so it was just until I knew the words, but also until you could get enough emotion behind it and enough projection that everybody could hear it and believe it. And I was so nervous for that part of the show. I had no worry by this point being in front of people, because I'd done a few shows prior just like on the stage, but being kind of front and centre, having to do this big piece, I remember being really scared of it, and then after doing that with Miranda, having to then do it for the team to show the group what we had just learned, that was one thing, and then do it for in front of everybody, that was a big one. So I was really proud of I would say there's few moments in your life where you say that's a turning point, and that's where you kind of change who you are then. And I would say after that little workshop with Miranda, I came out of there going, oh no, I can actually do this. This is something I'm not that bad at. And I call on that if I've ever got to do something either outside of my comfort zone, or if I've got to just sort of give a presentation to something, if I've got to learn something, or if I've got to present something. I think I called on that when I proposed to my partner. I was kind of like, how am I going to do this? And that's a different story. But like, when significant things happen and I have to try and show up for it, I kind of call on that memory. So I think, yeah, that wouldn't have happened without Valley's Kids. So.
Yeah, from your point of view, what would that have meant to people? like in our communities, to not have something like this, or for that to be threatened?
So Valley's Kids in the community is such a valuable resource, and it's something that I don't always think it's understood by the community. I certainly didn't understand it until later on in life, when what I was learning while I was here. For me, if that gets taken away, the people who the school system isn't necessarily working for, the social services system isn't necessarily working for, it completely goes away. Valley's Kids is an open forum and an open door to people to come in and spend some quality time with their families, their friends, strangers from the community. And I find a lot of the time, unless you're hitting certain tick boxes in some of the other services outside of Valley's Kids, you don't get access to certain things. Like, for example, using the school system, if I wasn't good at certain topics, I wouldn't have been given an option to have taken those topics any further, or to explore those topics, kind of thing. I can't speak for the social services, but I get the feeling that that's quite similar. Unless you hit a set of criteria, then you don't necessarily get access to the service. I find Valley's Kids is the community. It is a place where anybody can come in and have guidance and have fun and have skills taught to them in a way that they don't realise they're being taught. It takes away the formality of all that and allows a place where the community can come together that otherwise doesn't exist, I don't think. In Penygraig, you've got the Saw building, which is this, this huge structure on the roundabout in Penygraig. It's kind of on the skyline of Penygraig. And if that wasn't there, I don't think Penygraig High Street would be working as well as it is. And I don't think that, the people down in the flats in Dinas down the hill would have access to as many resources as they do up here. It's just so invaluable to people from 10-year-old children, toddlers with their new mothers, up to pensioners who are coming to have a little socialising in the coffee shop. And I don't know the full ins and outs of Valley's Kids and what they do, but you see the benefit throughout the community.
You talked about like really meaningful memories. Mm-hmm. Is there like a favourite one? Is there one where you're like, then it might just feel like there's too many. Is there one that you think, oh, you know what, that you said about that amazing memory, which is so important to you, but is there just something, I guess, about being with a group, or that you think that won't go away? So we used to go on. I'll start again. So a memory for me that won't go away is something. We had a really good group of people in the Penygraig drama workshops. There was about, I want to say, like 10 to 15 of us who were regulars that would come down, and everybody gelled really well. It was a really good group of kids, and that was myself, and I had my cousin, and then some of the people he went to school with, that we became a really close group of friends that we continue to be now. There were some people from other parts of the Rhondda who would come down on a Tuesday that, okay, we don't see every week anymore. They've travelled in the world, or they're married with kids and things now. But we still always have that kind of, if you pass them in the street and they like a post on their social medias or something like that, you always have a quick catch up, and there's this kind of camaraderie that we've got. And one of the memories I always think of is we used to go to Little Bryn Gwyn, which is a sort of residential over in the Gower. And we used to go in for a couple of nights. I mean, I was a child, I don't remember when, the summer, I'm assuming, the summer holidays. And it would just be like a holiday with your best friends. And we would do things like cook in there. I think we cooked a giant thing of rice and made a big curry once. But nobody really ate curry. Like, I certainly didn't eat curry at the time. Everyone was like, oh no, but then, the Valley's Kids staff were really encouraging. It's like, come on, we've made this food, let's eat this food. And we all sat in it and we all really, really enjoyed it. And then afterwards we played this game with a chocolate bar, and you had to put oven mitts on and try and like cut it open with a knife and fork when you've got your oven mitts on. And health and safety would probably go through the roof with that nowadays, wouldn't they? But yeah, it was just so much fun. And we used to do, we'd go down to the beach really late in the night and walk along the beach in the middle of the night. I don't know why we did that, but it was just something different and something that you didn't really do off like with your family or didn't do with outside of that. And yeah, I think the fun of that few years with Penygraig Drama Workshop between the ages of say 10 and 16 was you looked forward to the summer holiday so much because you knew you were going to have this week of excitement building up to a show, and then you'd have a residential away in Little Bryn, and you just get these little nuggets of memories of fun. I think it was just fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Connor.
That's okay.
It's brilliant.